not a makeup artist. I didn't start the lip bar being a makeup artist. And I'm really like the self-esteem person. I'm not the makeup person. I want people to, at the end of the day, wake up, look in the mirror and say, my reflection is good enough.
Melissa, does it ever get old walking in here and saying, oh yeah, this is it. I created this.
No, this is actually my favorite part, and I don't get to do it often enough, but I love interacting with customers. Yeah. It's literally my favorite thing because like it's so easy to get caught up in like the day-to-day and the numbers and the things that are going right or even the things that are going wrong and constantly fixing. And it's like, you have to remember who you're doing it for. And when I get to come into the store, I get to see real people who are using the products and I ask them questions and it's like, it's my favorite part.
It's why you did it in the first place.
Yes, literally.
So before I came here today, I was really extra careful with my makeup because I'm going to be sitting in front of like the makeup guru, and I was like, all right, I got to make sure that I've got good lip or I've got whatever. Do people get nervous thinking that you're going to, the first thing that you see them as you see their makeup? Are you constantly looking at makeup?
People constantly talk to me about makeup, but the reality is I actually know very little about makeup. Like, I am not a makeup artist. I didn't start the lip bar being a makeup artist. So people think that I'm like the makeup person, and I'm really like the self-esteem person. I'm not the makeup person.
Oh, so that's interesting. So why would you think that you're more the self-esteem person than the makeup person?
Because I didn't really start a makeup company. Like, I started this brand with the goal of reminding everyone that they are enough. Like, that's why it's written on our door and like in our flagship store in Detroit. It's like, I want people to, at the end of the day, wake up, look in the mirror and say like, my reflection is good enough. And so that is true with or without makeup. And so makeup is just a tool to help enhance your beauty or enhance your self-esteem. But you have to feel like all warm and fuzzy and gushy about yourself from within first. And then makeup is just a topper. And so I think about the business that I started in a very community-driven way because I just wanted people to believe in themselves. So like, makeup is like, it's fun, but like this is way deeper than makeup.
But what is it, I think, about maybe beauty culture or what we see in the mirror or driven to enhance it, driven to put a filter on it, try to make it better in some regards because you've got beautiful product, but yet the message of we are enough.
Yeah, so that's part of the issue. And the reason I started the lip bar is this very idea that the media and the beauty industry was saying that beauty looked like one thing. So you would open up a magazine and it's sort of like, 5 ways to become this or to wear your hair this way. Right. and these are just formats. These are templates of beauty that is telling people how they should look. When the reality is like, you know how you should look, you know how you want to feel, you know when you feel your best. And so I don't think that we need templates in order to do that. We need to increase our self-esteem. We have to increase our self-worth. We have to be able to look at another woman and say, she's beautiful, but her beauty doesn't take away from my beauty. And that was my entire goal. And it's still my goal today.
Gosh, do you think that we still have that comparison? That's really hard.
100%.
About to see a woman and say that doesn't take away from who I am. How do we work through that?
And social media makes it that much more challenging because we're constantly like, oh my God, that looks great on her, but that wouldn't look good on me. Yeah. Or like, oh man, I could never fit into that. Or, that's not my lifestyle. We are always wanting something outside of ourselves. And like, social media perpetuates it and we all kind of like feed into it and our thumbs are just scrolling. And it requires us to all take a pause and say, who am I? What do I want to look like? What are my beauty features that I can enhance? And also giving ourselves the ability to say, you have beautiful eyes, like I know that I'm not going to have green eyes and that's okay. I have to fall in love with my brown eyes while also admiring your green eyes. And I think that it really just requires us to take a moment of reflection and a reminder to say, I am good enough in my own skin, no matter what that skin looks like.
And I feel that you've been telling that story ever since that you've started this multi-million-dollar empire, really. And it feels like people know your story. You got turned down at Shark Tank, and then you have built this for yourself. Do you feel that your story is told the right way? Or I always think it's interesting when people tell the story. Do you say, oh, I recognize that story? Or has my story changed in a way?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that the story has certainly evolved, but I've been okay with the iterations because everything is based on your perspective. So I can't say that I want beauty to be subjective, but my story to not be. So whatever you experience from my story is your experience. The way I think about it when people tell the story, I'm like, oh, that's what you picked up from it. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I like that part. And I'm like, that's interesting. I never thought about that. But I never think about it from the perspective of you're telling my story wrong. Because it's up for interpretation. It's like a book.
And that's not over yet. And I'm going to ask you about some of those next chapters, because when we think about entrepreneurs and growing business and you made it, it's not over. Yeah, I can put it in quotes, but you know what? I think that's the interesting part, that sometimes the next chapter or the next mountain can be almost more difficult than the initial climb. Would you agree with that?
I think one of the most defeating parts of entrepreneurship is that when you start, you're naive, you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and you know nothing.
Right,
but also, you have nothing to lose. So as you grow, and we've gotten lots of positive press, lots of people know about our growth. Right. Now we actually have a lot to lose. Now it's like, I have to be careful. And when you are careful, oftentimes you are a little less creative because you're trying to protect what you've built, as opposed to sort of just like being okay with running very aggressively and very fast after, whatever your gut is telling you in that moment. As you grow into entrepreneurship, you're still using your gut, but you're also looking at data. When you're often starting out, it's less about data, it's all guts and glory.
You're throwing everything against the wall and see what sticks.
Everything. You're like, this is what I want to do because I can feel it. And after you get some results, you are forced to start thinking about data in order to scale. I always say, like, when the lip bar became a real business, I used it, and we didn't become a real business until probably, 6 or 7 years in business. But that's when I really started to say, okay, I'm going to hire people with expertise. I'm going to look at the data. I'm going to actually start marketing. I'm not going to just do things because I feel like it. And that part can be heartbreaking for an entrepreneur.
Heartbreaking how?
Heartbreaking because it's not just your ideas anymore. It's not just like that feeling in the bottom of your belly. It's like you really have to be responsible in a new way, and you don't get to just go after it and sort of like the wild and crazy and fun. It becomes a true business.
So it sounds like being an early entrepreneur is like being in your 20s, and now you're in your 40s. Now you are saying, well, I've got a house and kids, and I have to make sure that my decisions are deliberate in a different way. Is that leaning into fear in a different way? Absolutely, it's leaning into fear. Fear of losing it. Fear of not stacking up in the way that, everyone who's been rooting for you, am I going to disappoint my customers? Am I going to disappoint the people who have been rooting for me? So that was an interesting hurdle for me to get over. I'm over it now, but I really like to be honest about entrepreneurship, because I realized that my story has inspired so many other people to become entrepreneurs. And I want them to know that, you start out and it's just you and your thoughts, and you're able to run after it. And when you get success, you have new masters to answer to. You have customers to answer to, you have a team to answer to, you have products and manufacturing and suppliers. And it becomes a different thing that you're managing. At first, you're just managing the idea. Then you're actually managing a business. And one of my favorite things to remind aspiring entrepreneurs is anybody can be a CEO. You can just buy an LLC and you slap that. I'm in charge. That's it. Yeah. But you have to then learn how to become a leader. And that's the part where you're like, okay, I have to let go of these small things and really focus on driving this business in a responsible way. Two things for you. Who is your mentor in that regard? Because we have to find good people that can that we can be honest with and we can be open with and say, oh gosh, I need help with this, that they can help guide you along. And there are not a lot of people out there mentorship-wise.
Yeah. I mean, I have lots of mentors, and I think that people can learn from anyone and everyone. I'm learning from my team. I'm learning from my customers always. We are always doing social listening. We're always doing surveys. You know, when people come in, I'm like, how did you find out about us? What did you think about the product? But then also, I'm learning from my peers. I'm reaching out to other entrepreneurs in the space or outside of the space, people who I see scaling, people who are at the same level as me, people who are a few steps ahead of me, asking them their opinions, understanding like what they're going through, because entrepreneurship can be lonely. So you have to know that you're not the only one doing this. You have to like say like, am I the only crazy one here? Okay, no, I'm not, check. So I get mentorship from everyone. And then of course you want to reach out to people who are, you know, much further ahead than you. And I think the important thing there is to know that you still have value. You have the ability to add value to your mentors, whether they have already scaled and exited their business, whether they're billionaires or whether they're, you know, they only have a few $100 in their bank account. You can learn from everyone. And it's just about being vulnerable. And that's how I think about mentorship. You go out there, you're willing to tell your story, you're willing to be honest, and you're willing to say, hey, what do you think about this? And you'll be surprised by the answers you get.
Where do you find the energy for more innovation, for thinking, what's the next thing, skincare line coming out, in keeping that creative process flowing while talking about doing the hard things of the organizational business stack?
I think innovation comes from the customer need. Like my team is all women, and it's one thing that I'm like super proud of. But with that being said, I have the ability to say, what are we going through collectively? Like, what does the women's delegation feel like right now? You know, COVID was a big teacher for us because women were very stretched. You know, women were the teachers, the tutors, the chefs, the wives, the moms. Everything. Like women were everything. And so they needed multi-use products. They needed products that were long lasting. So just looking at the environment is oftentimes like the driver of innovation, understanding who our customer is at any given time and what they need by just frankly talking to them and listening.
You have a lot of people who are watching you, and you have, as you talked about, other entrepreneurs looking up to you saying, oh my gosh, Melissa's got all the answers. She did it. She made it. I want to do the same thing that she did. Is that ever heavy for you to be the gold star, the example?
No, it's not heavy for me because I know that I've given myself permission to get things wrong. I know that things are not always.
Wait, that's hard because not a lot of people want to do that, especially reaching a certain position of power and of growth and saying, oh my gosh, by admitting that it's okay to get things wrong, how do we find that mentality?
I think you fail enough to say, life goes on. So after you fall, you have two choices. You're either going to get back up or you're going to lay there and cry about it. And like, you can do both. You can cry and then get back up. But I have realized that over time, nothing is perfect. Like I can have seasons of highs and also seasons of lows, but I know that neither of them are going to last too long. And so like this is actually probably a thing that I should work on. I never get caught too high up in the highs, but also I never allow myself to get too low in the lows. I'm pretty even, and that's how I'm able to be resilient. I know that nothing lasts forever. I know that I am perfect. I am imperfect. I also know that no one is perfect. And so by taking that pressure of perfection off of my shoulders, I give myself the ability to take a risk. And when you take a risk, you know that there's potential for it to not go the way you want.
Absolutely.
You know, and I am a big risk taker. So it's like, I know that if I risk big, I can win big. I know that I can also, you know, fail big. And I'm okay with both of them.
You have women all over the world using your products. You have very famous women using your products too. You have to tell me, like, what's the craziest thing when you open, you're like, oh, Michelle Obama is enjoying my makeup? I mean, what has been some of the things that have just made you jump up and down?
Probably Michelle Obama, her team reaching out. Like, I mean, Jill Biden was in this very store with her granddaughter and they were shopping. Like, they were in here for probably like an hour shopping and trying on product. And I'm like, wait, what? How is this real? So people ask, like, did you always know that the lip bar was going to be big? And in some ways, I felt like I was starting the business for it to be big, but I was never able to actually articulate how big was big or what big looked like. And so I could have never imagined that Michelle Obama would, wear Boss Lady, which is our bestseller in the entire company, or that Dr. Jill Biden would be in this very store shopping with her granddaughter. So those moments still freak me out. I was just at the White House like a week ago, speaking on women in business, and I'm like, this is insane. So it makes me really grateful for all of the people who have supported me. Like, the Lip Bar is absolutely a community-based business. People out there want to see me win, and I think it's because they want to see themselves win. They want to know that somebody can make mistakes, that somebody can come from an imperfect background, that someone can sort of start from nothing and build something. And so this is my version of the American dream.
What do you think about the phrase, go big or go home?
I love the phrase. I think it's really hard to dream big, if we're going to be honest. Exposure is everything. Like, I grew up, like, my mother and my father were incarcerated. Like, it's not a story that I tell really often, but like, I didn't know what going big was because I didn't necessarily have that exposure. And so I think that you can easily get caught up in sort of like what big means to someone else. And so, like, I love the idea, but I really want us to all define it for ourselves. And so, like, my big, it changes every year.
I love that it's not static.
No, it can't be, because we aren't static.
No.
Like, the one thing that's constant is change. And I think the more and the faster we are comfortable with that change, the better our lives will be.
Should we say yes all the time?
No, absolutely not. No.
Oh, thank goodness.
No.
We should say more. No more. I mean, it feels like that lean in moment, though, that lean in always implies that you must say yes, must say yes.
No. We should say no more often than yes, actually.
Things that keep you up at night.
If I'm like reserving enough time for myself, that keeps me up at night.
That's gotta be hard.
It is hard.
Everyone wants a piece of you, it feels, maybe.
It does feel like that, but also I think the bigger issue is that I want to give a piece of myself to everyone. And so I have to remember to give a piece of myself to me, or at least save it.
Yeah. Goal for the next year?
To relax more.
What does that look like for you?
It looks like more time blocking. It looks like cooking more. It looks like working out. It looks like not doing things out of convenience, like truly saying yes because I want to say yes. So I want to relax more. I want to calm my mind more. I want to meditate more. COVID was really good for me in that way. I travel really often. And so COVID forced me to slow down. I was like, wait, I'm not on a plane. I didn't even know how to stop moving. I was still flying in the pandemic because I was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta move my body. And I don't want to feel, how do I say this? I don't want to feel uncomfortable or restless in those still moments.
Yeah. What would you give one piece of advice to women out there who have a dream and have an idea and are maybe afraid?
Listen, if you have this burning desire that you feel like you cannot stop thinking about, you feel like you are the person to fix the problem, I beg of you to have the confidence to go forward and know that it won't be perfect, but that you are truly the person to do it.
I love it. We need more messy spots, don't we?
Yeah.
More messy moments.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Will you help me pick out a good lip gloss?
Oh my God, it's my favorite thing.
Okay, thank God. Whew. All right, now we can end the interview because the real stuff's got to begin. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course,
Melissa.
of course, of course.